So before we get started, today we're going to be cooking the creamy mac and cheese with our blade cover. I'd love to know, first of all, if you have a Thermomix, what model do you have? And if you don't have a Thermomix, let us know that as well. And then if you do have a Thermomix, do you have a blade cover? So they're the things I'd love you to pop in the chat for us today. I just need to click OK over here. Not got long enough arms. Fantastic, Sandy has a TM6. Oh, and I've forgotten to put my phone into flight mode, so I'll just do that so that we don't get people calling while I'm cooking. Excellent. And then the next thing I need to do is just find my own other screen and we'll change over to there. Lots of people have the blade cover I can see, which is fantastic. Where is my other face? It's always very clever when you can't find your own. We'll just go this way. Thermomix, there it is. We're going to replace that spotlight. So I'm going to look at you on this screen now. I do not want to join audio. There we go. All right, so we're going to get started cooking and then I'm going to chat to you about the Thermomix for those that don't have one. And also answer any questions you might have as well, and we can chat about other things. I actually even have another Thermomix here, so this actually has a 20-minute cook time. So if you want me to do something else with things I've got available, we can. The oven's already going. My daughter's been cooking lamingtons this morning, so lots of TM6 owners here. Fantastic. All right, so this is our Varoma. We will talk about this in a little while, but I'll just get this food started so that you're not here for the whole day. So this is our TM6 here. So for those who have a TM5, you'll notice it has the bigger screen. It's one of the most obvious things that you see when you first look at it. I've been getting some things weighed and looking at our modes here, but we'll go into that a bit later. So today I'm going to show you where my recipe is. So you can actually search Cookie-Doo on your TM6 by swiping the screen across and finding it here. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. It's just thinking for a second. Oh, we're already in the search. So we could search for anything we want here. However, I've already added our recipe today to my week. So I'm going to go into my week. This is where you can do your meal planning. Now, you could be a hardcore meal planner who does weeks in advance, orders their food for that fortnight or whatever it might be, and kind of sets and forgets for that time, and you just go and cook everything you've got in your plan. You could be a bit more like me, who does a couple of days at a time. I often have lots of the staples in the pantry anyway, so it's really just about adding the fresh ingredients. Or you could be like the other me, who also goes to the shops on the way home from working somewhere and going, I need to cook dinner tonight. What am I going to do? Let's look up a recipe. What ingredients do I think I have at home, and get the other ones that I don't have. So you can fit into any of those categories, or you don't even have to use meal planning at all, but it's definitely something that can support you in saving money, saving time, and using up things you've got in your pantry already or fridge already. So my daughter needed to make self-raising flour today, so she's got that in the meal plan. So we are going to go into the mac and cheese. She decided to do lamingtons an hour before we started this as well. So good timing. Thank you, lockdown. Okay, so let's get started with our cooking. First of all, it's asking us to put a small bowl on the lid and weigh our peas into it. Now, I have already done that. I've actually got them into our mini thermoserver. So this is a 500ml thermoserver. It's part of our Host Reward catalogue, but it is running out today. Today's the last day to host and get your hands on these. So if you're here with a friend or two, you might be able to access these as a Host Reward. So please talk to your consultant about that as well. They are gorgeous, aren't they? All right, put them aside. Now we want to pop some things in here. So where is my garlic? Oh, over here. Things I prepared earlier. All right, so we want to put a clove of garlic in. Now this is the garlic I'm using today, and look at the size of it. So these are the things I'd recommend. When you are cooking, make sure you cook to your liking. So if you love garlic and your garlic cloves were smaller than this, add 2, add 3. I'm happy with the size of this. I'm only going with the 1 today, but I would normally go 2. 1 doesn't really exist in my vocabulary for garlic. So, but they're big cloves and they are quite potent. So that garlic's in there. The next we're going to do is add our Parmesan cheese. So the best thing about having your Thermomix, hopefully you all already know this, is being able to grate your own cheese and avoiding any anti-caking agents and things like that. So we're going to pop our Parmesan in. You'll notice my chunks are fairly big because the Thermomix has the power to do all that chopping. Next. Then we want our cheddar cheese. So again, that's all chopped into those bits and pieces, popping that all in there. Next, a bit extra. Those who were on yesterday would have seen me grating cheese, and I still had that in the fridge. So I could have put that grated cheese in that I grated yesterday, but it would just grate more. And again, like I said, I'll keep that because my kids just eat it by the handful. So we'll just do that. Now we need our lid and our measuring cup. So anyone who has a TM5, you'll notice the change in the measuring cup means it's not going to fall out when I take my lid off, which again, I said yesterday, because I know some of you were here from yesterday. So I feel like I'm repeating myself to some of you, but it is very funny because I used to always send the measuring cup flying off across the room. Okay, so we're going to turn this all the way around to grate that cheese and the garlic now. And the greatest thing Heather, I've just made you a co-host as well, just so that you've got that power in case you need it. All right, so that's all grated. I was going to say the greatest thing about this, now I don't know if many of you have actually cooked backwards with your Thermomix behind it and looking at the screen, but it is a little bit more difficult. But the fact that when you turn the dial, it will stop where it needs to be if you turn it far enough. So you notice I had to turn it twice because I didn't quite get around to the 10. If it needs to stop at the 4 or the 5, as long as you give it a good turn, it will stop where it needs to stop and it won't go past that and accidentally blitz your food. So that's one of my favorite things to do. All right, we're going to pop that in a bowl now. Pop it back in the same bowl that I had the cheese in originally. Oh, look, I'll use the thermoserver so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Now, I like to give the bottom of the bowl a little bit of a twizzle to get things out from under the blade. So I recommend doing that when you're doing a dough or anything like that. There's the bowl pretty well empty. And here is our grated cheese. Now, please remember today, if you have any questions at any time, pop them in the chat or come off mute and ask. I am absolutely willing and able to help. And we've also got a couple of consultants and team leaders on the call today as well, who'll be able to answer those questions too. Now, it's asking us to clean and dry the mixing bowl. Who else doesn't follow those instructions all the time? Yeah, me today. There's going to be cheese back in here anyway, so I'm not going to worry with that. What we're going to do now is grate our carrot. So again, I've got them chopped into reasonable sized chunks, and I've still got the peel on. You can choose to peel it if you prefer, sorry, it is the creamy mac and cheese, easy mac and cheese. Sorry, easy mac and cheese. Maybe Beth, if you could look it up on Cookie Doo, could you share the link in the chat? You can leave the peel on or take it off, it's up to you. As many of you probably know, lots of the nutrients of our veggies are just under the skin. So that's why I'm choosing to leave it on. And we're going to now grate that down. Is anyone still hand grating? You can let us know. There's our grated cheese. I'm going to just scrape that down. I actually spotted a couple of chunks in there when I went to show you. Lots of it is quite flaky like that, but there were a few chunks, and I don't want any chunks in here. If you are like me and really want to get as much nutrient into your food without the kids whinging about it, you probably aren't going to want any chunks in there as well. So what I want to show you is simply clicking the back button and doing that step again. And I can tell already that it's done. It's changed the noise and flung all the food to the side and got rid of all those little chunks there. So you'll be able to see now everything is quite small, which is exactly what I want to ensure that it just becomes part of the meal that we're about to cook. So you've got the power. You've got the power to go back if you want to do a step again, all those sorts of things. Please make sure you keep the power. We want that into a bowl as well. I think this little bowl here that I've got is probably going to be okay. Just going to make some mess. No, I'm not. There we go. So I saw some people are doing a little bit of grating when it's just a few things. My tip yesterday was, particularly for cheese, whenever you're going into a recipe and it's saying to get the cheese ready, do a bit extra. So double it, or depending on how much you're asking for. I wouldn't have doubled what I did today. Like, this is a lot of cheese for the Thermomix to grate. That was 280, 300 grams. So I probably only do 300 to 500 grams of cheese at a time. I think I've seen more than that done, but I'm comfortable with the 300. I think at the back of your basic cookbook, it actually gives you some instructions on how to do the grating just on its own. And I would then either keep it in the fridge if your family goes through it quickly, or you can pop it in the freezer, and that will keep it in there for that bit longer. And then you've got it at hand whenever you need to sprinkle it onto a dish and things like that. Because it's grated, it actually defrosts quite quickly, so you don't have to worry about the time it will take to be ready to use. Okay, now we pop our blade cover in. So for those that don't have the blade cover, this is this thing here, and it pops in straight on top of our blades. I'm not getting it, there we go. And it should sit flush so that the knob of the blade is at the top of the blade cover. So this little, I'll take it off again. This little section here is flush with, so the blade sits in there like that. So popping that in on the Thermomix. Oops, I'm skipping ahead too far. Insert blade cover, then our butter. 40 grams of butter. Next, our milk. Funny story about the milk. My daughter started to make lamingtons today. Lamingtons have icing, and icing uses a reasonable amount of milk. So we had a quick dash to the shops to get some more milk for our session today, because while I thought I had plenty, I have a lovely daughter who likes to cook, which is fantastic. I don't never ever want to stop her from doing that, but it just meant that it was a little bit alarming when I went to get the milk out for us. There we go. Oh, a little tiny bit. I'm just going to tip that in. Otherwise, that would just go down the sink. Next. Now, I don't know how many of you are like I was when I first got my Thermomix, but I was very much a rule follower. And it's taken a while. I've had mine for 6 years now, but it said 650 and I've gone to 670. Woo! Talk about rule following. All right, now we need some cream. Now, my hubby has cream in his coffee every day, so I'm not sure how much he's left me with, but I do have another container. Oh, look at that. $1.97, that'll do. Save me opening the next container. Our salt. Now, I am going to use salt today. However, I would normally use stock. Whenever a recipe like this asks for salt, which is adding the flavour, I'd add stock normally. I'm going to get the stock. Let me know in the chat if you've got a Thermomix. Are you still making stock, or are you buying it again? We call this liquid gold. And the reason we call it liquid gold is because it looks gold today. Mine looks quite gold. B, when you're buying stock at the shops, if you're buying liquid stock, you're actually paying for water, which I know we pay for at home anyway, but you're paying for water. But also, there's no additives and preservatives in this. The salt is a preservative, which is why it asks the amount of salt it does. We just pop this straight into the bowl now. My spoon. I keep my stock in the freezer because I'm a haphazard stock maker. I'll make 3 batches and then I won't make any for however long, 6 months, and it keeps that little bit longer in the freezer so I can get through it. I didn't give the warning at the beginning. We are in lockdown and I have 3 children. They are 5, 7 and 9. They are currently downstairs and I just heard a little bit of screaming. So I apologise in advance if we have a tantrum coming. All right, now we want a bit of pepper. I am going to use a little bit of pepper today, but I'm not going to use half a teaspoon because my kids are like truffle dogs. They will hunt the pepper down and tell me that it's too peppery. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a sprinkle to add that depth of flavour and warmth to it without being overtly peppery. It's only a quarter of a teaspoon anyway, which I probably actually did. So there you go. A bit of nutmeg. There we go. Nutmeg. Or 2 pinches. Another one. If there's any questions coming through in the chat, Heather, do you want to let me know? And then some smoked paprika.
All good so far. The only question was about substituting some milk for extra milk for some of the cream, but I'm sure that would work fine and just have a slightly different result, but no.
I think it'll just be a little bit more runny. So I think the cream helps to add the thickness to it. So yeah, definitely you could use milk. You could use a coconut cream as well to give that a try. We often eat dairy free, so I was going to try that as well. And then some Dijon. Yep. I'm not even using teaspoons anymore. I just go with the flow. Half a teaspoon though. About that. If you're a go with the flow and a recipe doesn't work though, maybe go back and try it with the actual following the recipe. And some Worcestershire sauce. Look, when a recipe calls for dashes, I mean, really, what's a dash? We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, about that. I think that was about 4. And our carrot back in, some off the bench. There we go. Don't want to waste any. And pasta. Where did I put the pasta? Oh, in the thermoserver. Now, obviously the pasta didn't need to get kept cold, but I also didn't need to dirty anything else. So we want 250 to 280 grams of pasta. I'm going to go for more is more in this situation because the kids do like pasta. Here we go. Next, mix with the aid of the spatula. Stir it all through. So what you're doing now is just coating the pasta with that liquid, really, so that it helps it cook evenly. So trying to get it into the liquid. So I'll just show you that there. So it's all kind of had that coating around it. The same thing when a recipe asks you with rice to, you put the water in, put your rice in, then it asks you to stir it. It's just trying to coat the rice with the liquid to help it cook evenly. All right, measuring cup on, mixing bowl lid, and now that's it. So like I said, we're cooking now for 22 minutes. So we'll leave that to cook. I feel like I haven't added the cheese in yet, but it's okay. The best thing about, so I can show you something else with the screen now. So I'm feeling like, when does the cheese go in? So I'm going to click my little 3 dots here and go to the recipe detail. And you can scroll down, you can look at the ingredients on the left. And then you can look at all the instructions here on the right. Okay, there you go. So at the end, we add the peas and the reserved cheese mixture, stir to combine and leave to sit for 5 minutes to season to taste. Yeah, so the cheese doesn't even go in this part. That means the garlic's in there as well. Interesting. All right, so that's one of the things I love about the TM6. Let's have a quick look now. If you've got questions, like I said, if you want to learn something today that we haven't already covered off, please do pop it in the chat, come off mute because we've got 20 minutes of cook time. There we go. All right, so let's have a talk now about what else comes with the Thermomix. So for those who don't have one, I think we do have a few of you on who don't have a Thermomix yet. We have our Varoma. This normally sits on the top without the measuring cup there, and it's where all your steaming happens. So it's fantastic for steaming, obviously, but multi-layered cooking, getting lots of things done all at one time. So you can be doing sweet stuff up here and savory down the bottom. You could be doing a soup down here and meat and veggies up here. Lots of different options for your Varoma. It has a tray on the inside as well. So you've got 2 layers in there. I should have showed that as well. So you've got the dish and then the tray and then the lid. You also get your simmering basket, which has a lid with it as well. That sits inside the bowl and it is designed to hold food in there. So you can, again, you could be having lots of different layers. You could actually have something in the base, something in this basket, something in the bowl of the dish of your Varoma, and then something on the tray. So really handy for those bigger families or those times of the year where you are cooking for more people. Lots of things like that. We also have the butterfly whisk, which I'm holding as well. this is going to whip all the different things to perfection. So depending on what's important to you, you could be whipping cream into whipped cream, then turning that into butter, making your own butter. You could then also be using it to stir. So our risotto recipe, as an example, uses the butterfly whisk to help stir and move that rice around the bowl. Lots of great ideas. Today, we used it for our sponge. So it whipped I think it creamed the butter and sugar for the sponge. Not sure. I didn't cook it. Amelia did. So I've actually not made lamingtons on my own. She's the only one that's made them in our house. What else have I forgotten? Oh, and the splash guard. So with the TM6, you do have the high heat functions. Now, we're not using one of those today because we're using the blade cover. But yes, there is a trick for that. The splash guard sits on the top here and locks in with these arms, keeping it safe, meaning this can't be removed while cooking when you've got that high heat stuff in there, and it allows the steam out without letting the food out. So that is why this comes with the TM6 specifically, and you'll have that as well. Obviously, get your spatula that I've already used today and everything else you've seen. Now, there were some questions in the chat. I saw a question about putting the butterfly whisk in. I had a bowl ready. Here we go. I've got a spare bowl here. Who doesn't love a spare bowl? There's a sale on in the mix shop. There's 20% off in the mix shop at the moment. And I believe if there's any bowls left, they also attract that 20% discount as well. So, okay. So for those who want to learn about the butterfly whisk, putting it in, it goes behind the top blade. So you put it in there's a more narrow spot and then there's a wide spot. So if I just turn it, like that. So the ones that are pointing out to the sides are the wide spots and the one top and bottom are the more narrow spots. The trick here is, and it tells you in your manual, you need to twist it in the direction that your food is going to move. So if your food is going to be going clockwise, like it normally does, which has got the blade cutting through food, you want to twist it clockwise. So anytime you're whipping cream and things, it's going to go in that direction. So that's the forward direction, which locks it behind that blade, and stop when it's doing that spin, it's going to stay there. When you're doing risotto, it actually goes in reverse, so it doesn't keep cutting your food down. What you want to do is actually twist it this way so that it goes back the other way. Now, the reason for that is there's little grooves on the bottom of the butterfly just here, and they lock underneath the blade. Now, if you've twisted it clockwise and then it has to go back this way, when you've got food in the bowl, if it potentially hits a piece of food there, that's where you might find it pops off. So it's a little bit fiddly, but once you've got it, it doesn't go. Like, I have never forgotten that since I read the manual. So give that a go at home, put it in, twist it clockwise when you're doing whipping and things. And then when you're doing a dish that's going to be going in reverse, it goes anti-clockwise, twist it back. And the way you remember is whenever it's going to be stirring food, it will be going backwards, which means that the back of the blade will be hitting the food rather than the front of the blade. So twist it that way. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully I haven't confused everybody. There's probably some consultants on here going, what, really? Yes, that is true.
Hannah, there was a question about cookie dough. Will we have time to show the shopping list?
Let's go there now. Yeah, let's have a look. All right. I brought my keyboard and mouse for a reason. Here we go. I'm just going to bring you back to the other Hannah so that you can see me on this screen now. Oops. What am I don't know how to, oh, I'm in the wrong thing. Sorry. One moment. This one, replace spotlight. Here we go. So while that's cooking away, let's have a look at Cookie Do now. We do have Cookie Do sessions every month. We just haven't yet had the chance to book the next month's in yet. We've had a very busy end of financial year. So we'll be looking at booking those dates in tomorrow. So please hold and we'll get the actual full session in. But I'll give you a quick sneak peek now. I just have to make sure I had it open. I want to share this one. Share. There we go. So hopefully now you can see my Cookie Do. Cookie Do is a world of fun. what I would recommend is if you haven't spent some time here, please just come in here and have a browse. On this very first page, you can actually see that there's some dishes they pick out that might suit you. Now you can see here, my kids have been searching quite a few things. Oh no, yogurt. Okay, it's not, I was thinking it was all sweet things, but it's not quite. That savory herb baked ricotta is delicious. Yogurt there, some echallots, there you go. So lots of different ideas. Latest recipes are shown on here. And then there's some information about how you personalize your cookie dough. So cookie dough can absolutely be personalized now. You can save your preferences for filters, and that way you go in, and once you go in there, it will be always there. Now, this is definitely knowing me, because tacos are my favorite thing to cook in my TM6. It was what sold me. Well, I was already a Thermomix owner by then, but it's what made me really love this model. Because of the way the taco mince comes out. It was actually something I still cooked on the stove, even though I had a TM5. Don't do that anymore. There we go. So lots of things on that first page. You can look at the different collections that have come out. We have lots of collections coming out all the time, which means our library is growing all the time. There's so much on this very first page. There's an introduction to cookie dough down here as well. But then probably the most fun thing to do is get into the recipes. So let's talk about searching first of all. There's a number of ways you can search with cookie dough. So if I start typing in, I actually was given a big bag of carrots. Sorry, a big bag of carrots yesterday. And so I'm actually looking for ways I can use those carrots. So if you just type in carrot, first of all, it comes up in this list here that you see in anything that has carrot in the name. Okay, so carrot and coriander soup, carrot cake, cupcakes. Let's just click on those because I think they might go nicely in my, yep, let's add those to my meal plan. So what I'm doing now, I've clicked on the 3 dots and I'm going to add to my week. I reckon Amelia might cook them today. So we'll just add them there and we'll go back again. Okay, so back here, we're typing in carrot. What happens when you press search? It brings up anything that has carrot in the recipe. Now, it has got it by relevance, which means you're likely to see lots of recipes with carrot in the name, first of all, anyway. But then as you go down, you will start seeing recipes that don't list carrot as an ingredient eventually. So if I was to go up, the other thing you can do is probably give that as a better example is by putting in carrot and beef. When you put carrot and beef in, it will show me in recipes that have both carrot and beef. So you can see here, there's garlic tomato beef with potato and carrot mash. You can even go one step further and see if there's any recipes that also have the blade cover. So these beef cheeks with vanilla carrot puree and thyme glazed carrots will also use the blade cover. So if you're wanting to give your blade cover another go, there's some things in here you can do. So this is going to have the blade cover in, heat it up, and then cook for a decent while. This is a slow cooked recipe, 7 hours. So you're going to get beautiful tender beef cheeks by doing them this way. Now, like I said, you can do that for anything. So I actually really would prefer to make it a sweet dish. I think I'd like to get the kids in the kitchen just coming up with lots of different ways they can use carrot. So I put carrot and sugar in because I'm happy for them to have a bit of sugar. I'm going to hide the carrots in there anyway and see what we can come up with. So I love looking at the ratings in here as well. So you can see this one's got 4.7. That's probably going to be a pretty good one, but I've already got the carrot cake cupcakes. I'm not going to do that. We'll do these carrot cake bliss balls. Just going to check their ingredients. So it's got pecans and walnuts. I'm going to try and make these nut-free. So I'm going to use some sunflowers and some sunflower seeds and some pumpkin seeds, or I can't think of the other name for them now. They'll go in. I've got some coconut there. I've actually got coconut here ready to go for the lamingtons. Carrot, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger. Simple. So let's add them to my week now as well. Nice and simply, we can click cook today, which will add it to the meal plan. If you want to add it to a different day, you can click add, go to my week, and then go to whatever day you want to do. If you're not someone who'll use your meal plan, but you do want to use the shopping list, you can also just straight from here, click add to shopping list. I don't tend to do that because I like to do it from my meal plan to make sure I've added everything that I need. So if I'm going to add things to my shopping list, I go to my week first. I clear my shopping list because as you can see here, I added the ingredients for the things we're doing this week. So the beef tacos, the creamy capsicum zucchini soup we did on Monday, and then the easy mac and cheese we're doing today. So I only needed one ingredient, would you believe, for all those dishes. I only needed beef mince. And for those who were on yesterday, they know that I didn't get beef mince. I got pork. My husband went shopping and came home with the wrong thing, but they still work beautifully. So you can see here, I've added the carrot cupcakes. So we'll add to the shopping list and the bliss balls to the shopping list. And then we'll go through and look at the ingredients. And so this is what you can do at home. So you can bring up the shopping list and then you can go through and simply tick off all the items that you already have. I'm not going to use the nuts, like I said. I'm going to put use seeds instead. It's asking for icing sugar. Now, I never have icing sugar. We only have raw sugar. So I'll just use raw sugar. I have dates. I have brown sugar. I have sultanas, walnuts. I have all the flours, cream cheese. I reckon I've got cream cheese too. I've got sour cream. I've got butter, sunflower oil. I don't have sunflower oil, but I do have grapeseed oil, which is another very light flavored oil. So I'll just use that instead. I do have eggs, although I think 8 of them have been used for these lamingtons today. Spices, quick check of my drawer here, but I'm already confident I already have all those spices. I've got the carrots, that's for sure. Look at that. No shopping for me today. I'll be staying home in lockdown. How good's that? So you do that before you go to the shops. Now let's pretend that I didn't have some of the things. Let's just go like that. I'd need to go shopping for these things. You can see here, if you go to the shops, you can open this up and you can use it like a shopping list. Instead of taking your pen and paper, you can just be ticking these off on your phone in the shops. Bearing in mind, I don't know if anyone here is local to me. I'm in Terrigal, so I go up to Erina to do my shopping at Coles or Woolies. Sometimes at the back of their shops, and I know it happens up in Nelson Bay too at my parents' house, when I'm clicking those things, you go out of service at the very back of their shop. So sometimes it doesn't work. So you've got to be back at the front of the aisle to make it work properly. But nevertheless, you can still access it all somewhere in the shop generally. But then if you weren't going to go to the shops, if you're all like me and you're in lockdown, or you just prefer not to go shopping and you like to do online ordering, you can use the order ingredients button. So in here, I'm going to click the order ingredients. We only have the option of Woolworths at the moment. That is a relationship with the people who make this functionality happen. It is asking me what we want. So it's saying carrots. Yep, I want 5 of those, so $1.55. And whole nutmeg. Yep, I need that. If I wanted to change anything, you can swap it here, but you can also go and swap it in the cart. So I'd always recommend checking your cart before you check out and make sure you've got the right things. I like it here though, because it says underneath 260 grams of carrot. It's ordering 5 carrots. Is that going to be enough? It's most likely going to be enough for 260 grams. A carrot's generally at least 100 grams. And then we go to the nutmeg. I need half a whole nutmeg. Well, that's a bag of them. So again, I'm going to have plenty. I have had a consultant just recently ordering herself some ginger through this method, and it hadn't recognized the way that it asked for it here. It gave her half a kilo of ginger. So she ended up with a significant amount of ginger to use. Luckily, ginger can be frozen and used at any time, but we obviously would prefer not to spend all that money doing it that way. So then we can add to the Woolworths cart. If I click that link now, it will take me to Woolworths and enable me to do other things. So you can order other things when you get into your Woolworths cart. You can also add additional items in here as well. So if you needed, heaven forbid, toilet paper at the moment, you can obviously pop that in to get as well. And the great thing about this, if your family all logs into the same Cookido account, if your hubby's going shopping or partner's going shopping on the way home from work, they can get these things. And you can, rather than them going, what else do we need at the shops? This can be your running shopping list, which is much easier than having that naggy feeling of people wanting to know what you need when you're in the middle of afternoon activities. My husband generally is coming home at 5 o'clock or later, and I'm pretty well in the midst of dinner, bath, all the things that happen at that time. And I don't really want the question of, I'm stopping at the shops, do we need anything? I don't know if we need anything is my response pretty much all the time. So this makes it a lot more easy for us to then be able to shop this way. How are we going for time? Okay. The other great thing about Cookido, for those who have any dietary requirements or they have ways of eating they like to follow, you can also search recipes a different way. So let's click explore, and let's say you are looking we need to go in and search first, don't we? So let's go back in for carrot again. When you're in here, you can first of all search by collections, recipes, or articles if you're going to read about things. But you can use these filters. Now you'll notice mine has English on as the only filter because that's what I've saved as my filter. But you can actually go in and go down. So yours will automatically come with Australia checked. So I took Australia off and put English on, which gives me access to all the English recipes. Now you can see there's 953 recipes alone that have carrot in it. Are you looking for your Lamington? Okay, sorry, my daughter just walked in. But then if you've got a TM6 and you just want to find recipes that support the TM6, and you can do this, the TM6 only ones are going to cover off things like your high heat and your high sugar function. So they're going to be the ones that you're doing on the TM6 only. If you tick TM5, it means those recipes won't come up for you. However, some of the TM6 recipes here will actually still work for the TM5, but it's just they've been developed since we've had the TM6. So just make sure you're reading through, check for the things, check for blade cover. If you don't have a blade cover, make sure you're checking that it doesn't use that, and check that it's not using one of those high heat functions as well.
I know that's one of the questions in the chat about converting or adjusting recipes that are, well, specifically for a TM6, but cooking them in a TM5. So we know the quantities will be the same, but not sure that there's any specific tips to help with that. What about?
No, I guess a lot of the recipes that are TM6 only do have a TM5 version. So try and find the TM5 version, like the TM6 risotto. It actually like browns off the, is it the rice, Heather? It does the high heat.
It toasts the rice, yeah.
Yeah, whereas for the TM5 version, it just doesn't do that part. So there are the simple ones. The taco beef mince that I do, the beef taco, yeah, beef tacos, the recipe's called. It wouldn't be suitable for the TM5 because it needs the high heat function to be able to get the consistency it gets the way it cooks. So that's one of the ones where unfortunately the TM5 just can't cut the mustard, so to speak, in that regard.
And slow cooking would be another example of that, wouldn't it? So
yeah, that's right, because the blades stop with the TM6 where it doesn't with the TM5. That's right, isn't it, Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sous vide, and I guess there's a few of the specific TM6 functions that you won't be able to replicate exactly.
Yeah. 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 So if you want to just shop to your model, put the TM5 on, and that, or TM31, and that way you'll only find them. With the TM5 to the or TM6 and the TM5 to the TM31 was a slightly smaller bowl, so you'll always get the warning that just to make sure it's not going to overload your bowl, overfill your bowl. That's really important for the 31 owners. All right. Anything else there in the chat? Oh, bugger, some people have had to leave early. They've lost power. All right. Yeah, so I was back in here though. So the other things you can do, when I was talking about before, if you have any allergies and things, so you can go in here and pick, like if you're a vegetarian, you only want to see veggie dishes, you can click that box there. And then down here with the tags, if you were gluten-free, you can pop the gluten-free tag on and find all the recipes that list they're gluten-free. Now, what I would say here though, if you are gluten-free, this might be the first step for you to finding recipes that suit you, but be mindful that there's always the opportunity to convert recipes. So some of them might just have a little bit of flour to thicken a recipe. You could use gluten-free corn flour in that space if you could have corn flour. I do know there's a lady who's been on quite a few that can't have wheat flour or corn flour still. So you could use nuts to thicken if that's something you can do as well. So please just have a look at the recipe and think, is this something that I can easily substitute for? Are they just saying, like I have a Caesar salad and it's not gluten-free on here, but it's just because of the croutons, which I can easily make with a gluten-free bread, which I do. So just try and, I guess, explore a little bit, spend some time, especially if you're in lockdown, having a scroll through and having a look at some recipes that you might like. I then recommend, we have just stopped cooking, so I'll just do one more thing. Make yourself some lists. So when you find a recipe you like, add it to a collection. So you'll see here I have a lot of collections. one of the ones I really enjoyed doing early on were things I'd like to try. Gosh, it might even be gone now. Want to try. So I have a want to try list, and then I have a tried and enjoyed, and I used to have a tried and not again sort of list, because if I might have been the only person who liked it and no one else in our house liked it, so I'm not going to cook it again just for myself. So give some things a go. My lists have got a bit crazy because I show things when I share the Thermomix, and they're not really just about me. So tailor your list for what you want and how you'll be able to best search them, and then you can then quickly go and go, oh, okay, I want to do a smoothie. I think I just went to smoothies, and I'm pretty sure I've got a soup in there, so it hasn't quite worked how it should, but you get the picture. All right, let's stop sharing that now, and we'll go back to the TM6, replace Spotlight. All right, so I better just move these. I mentioned earlier that my daughter is a messy cook. I didn't mention that it comes from me. So let's go next. Using a spoon, transfer pasta sauce into a thermal serving bowl or other large bowl. All right, not right now. Okie dokie. My thermo server here, put in its space. No place. Go out to the front seat of the car, lock. Oh, there's a treat in there though.
What treat?
Go and look. Like a treasure hunt. Bribery at its best. All right, so let's get that. So, can you see? That's pretty cooked there. This thermoserver is 2.6 litres. Oh, hang on. That's using a spoon, transfer pasta and salt. Okay, and sauce, good. The idea with the spoon is to stop the blade cover falling out and splashing. So I'm just using the spatula that I've got to hold the blade cover in while I drain that sauce out. Otherwise that happens. All right. Next, carefully remove the blade cover because it is hot. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's not that hot. Put it over at the sink. Next, transfer all remaining pasta and sauce thermal serving bowl. Okay, so you can have some. Just wants me to put the rest of this in here. Next. All right. Add peas and reserved cheese mixture and stir through to combine, and then let it sit for 5 minutes. Let's get that all in there now. Now, the peas. Do I add the peas? That is my $1 million question. I have a household of picky eaters. I feel like if I put cheese in here, they're going to turn their nose up at it. And we'll be picking out peas. But I think I'll do that because it actually probably looks nicer with the peas in. And we'll just, if they like the flavour and don't like the peas, I'll make it again without them next time. If I was doing this for our family, not for this Zoom, I'd actually also add zucchini when I added the carrot as well. It probably would make it a little bit runnier. I'm loving the thick consistency of this mac and cheese. So it would make it a bit runnier, but it would absolutely bulk out the veggies in it. Just give me 1 second. All right, so all that goes in there and combined. Let me show you what it looks like now. Ooh, it's getting very heavy. There we go. Mac and cheese isn't exactly the most pretty dish to put on the screen, but leave it for 5 minutes to rest and then serve. So we'll just pop that there for 5 minutes and we'll just have a quick chat for 5 more minutes. What I want to also show you is the bowl. So you'll see there's a bit of baked on cream and butter at the bottom there. I want you to get used to seeing that because that is the high heat working. Sorry. And it's also what you would see in a pot or a pan if you did the same dish. You know, it's slowly stirring. When it's slowly stirring for you with the Thermomix, you don't have that spatula touching the bottom and moving stuff off the bottom. So that is normal and it'll easily come off. I'm going to pop it on and do the self-clean or the pre-clean. And I'll actually put on there, I'll use the browning one because there's some different options. So when you go in, let's go out of there now. scroll across to get to all your different functions, and then you scroll up and down to reach whichever one you want. I've just gone into something else. Home. Oh, okay. I want to go back and I want to go to pre-clean. I have already made these things disappear, but if you want to see the instructions for each of the different modes, you can go in and read what you need to do, because there are some slightly different things to do for each of the different things. I'm going to put this on fat or caramel. So I'm just going to pop some water in the bowl. Oh, look at me making a mess of myself. And I think this one, let me just go back to the information. I'm pretty sure a drop of dishwashing liquid for this one is good. Fat or caramel cleans fats and caramels. So because it's caramelized to the bottom, that's why I'm picking that option. When I do the high heat function, like the beef tacos, I use the browning one. So that's the one at the bottom. When you're doing dough, if you use a sticky dough particularly, it's great to use that mode to get the dough off the bottom. They all work in a slightly different way. There we go.
And detergent for the browning, do we?
Pardon?
We don't add detergent for the browning. We leave the drop of detergent. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't put detergent in for the browning one. I do add vinegar though. Is that right, Heather?
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
Vinegar's good.
Yeah. So the vinegar helps to deglaze the bowl. So again, traditionally, if you're cooking on the stove top, you would have that browning on the pan, and you'd throw in your water and a little bit of vinegar. Then usually at restaurants, and that will help get the caramelization off the bottom of the bowl. And that's exactly the same what we're trying to do in the Thermomix as well. What I always say is it actually will always come off. So just keep cooking and get it a little bit of elbow grease to remove any like chunky bits, I suppose, off. And then, yeah, keep going. I probably should. There we go. Oops. Oh, I messed my bowl up. Move that out of the way. There's our mac and cheese. Yum. I know, if I was a chef, I'd be cleaning off that bowl section. Excellent. Any other questions? Oh, wrong screen, was I? Let me just fix my.
It might be me. Am I spotlighted?
Yeah, I'll remove yours. How about that? Is that better? Mac and cheese, delicioso. Could you blend the peas with the carrots so they're hidden? Yes, absolutely. You could blend any veggies down there. Just be mindful that blending different colors will lead to a different colored dish at the end. So I've never really blended peas before. So they might make it go a bit green kind of thing. It might look a bit weird colored. So give that a go and see what it comes out as. All right. Yours didn't end up that thick. It definitely does thick. Oh, you're cooking along, Lucy. Awesome. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. I feel like I might have forgotten to say something, but if you've got any other questions, I'm absolutely happy to answer. Not as much pasta. I did do the 280. I did the full 280 of pasta today. So it definitely would be runnier without soaking up that liquid with the extra pasta. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Make sure you get in touch with your consultant. If you love what you've seen today, let them know. Let them know what else you want to see. These 3 ideas came because I had this stuff in the cupboard and I knew I didn't have to go shopping. But if you want to see something else, let me know and I can give it a go, because I'm home in lockdown for another week and a half. So I'm willing to give anything a try. Fantastic. Thanks, Joanne. I'm glad you loved it. I'll stop recording now. There we go.